Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Saturn conjunct one's natal Neptune. Now, when you have transits that involve Saturn in astrology, it can be about restrictions, limitations, structure, discipline, responsibility, laborious work and efforts. When you have this transit conjunct your natal Neptune, well, it can manifest in restrictions, structure, discipline, responsibility, laborious work, and in your dreams, it could be in attaining your dreams and ideals. These dreams may be more work than what you anticipated, or it could simply make what you're trying to attain, what you fantasize about, more realistic. And the thing about this too, and Saturn could also restrict and limit, of course, so it can limit what you really are fantasizing about and what's a little bit, overly idealistic, what's not realistic at this point. And also, too, some cases this could be about taking responsibility or responsibility in general for an addiction. Say if you have this in Scorpio, it might be like perhaps a sexual addiction. Um, it may be something where Neptune is also connected with isolation. This could be a time where maybe you just kind of go into your own spot. You might be, Saturn is depressive energy. You might be dealing with things that are causing you to feel more melancholy in private and seclusion at this time, more so than usual. It can be a very introverted period. And also, Neptune is connected with dissolving and dissipation. So this could be manifest in more structure, it might be more consistent efforts in trying to dissolve or have something dissipate and at least gradually go away. It could be, if it's in the seventh house, it could be, an open adversary. It might be a time where maybe this is somebody that you might be deciding to take to court, and you might want to end that situation. It could, if it's in the second house, it could be dissolving some kind of monetary situation that really you don't feel has been up to standards. If you're trying to find some position or some work or another money-making venture that would bring in more money than the previous one, then that's what you may be doing at this time. Also, too, Neptune could be about lethargy, and it's a time where it might be something where maybe a depressing situation may be causing you to feel a little bit more lethargic. You might not really have that ambition to get up and do a lot of things at this point. But at the same time, this could be about using Saturn-like ambition to attain your dreams and ideals. Remember that Saturn, when you're talking about conjunctions in astrology, they are neutral. They could go generally one way or the other. And the thing about this is, too, Neptune is associated with deception and duplicity. So it might be a time for you where you might be dealing maybe with older people, Saturn-related people in general, whether it could be a father, a grandparent, older people, could be a mentor. That might be, you might see them as more deceptive and duplicitous than usual. It can be as well, anatomically speaking, Neptune is associated with the feet, the toes, the lymphatic and immune system in general weakness. So it might be a time where you may be experiencing more difficulties with these issues, especially, if you had problems with the feet and toes, for example, previously, and I would say especially if this falls in the first or sixth house in your natal chart, because the first, of course, corresponds with the physical body. The sixth house can be associated with health-related issues and debilitations that are physical. It may be something, too, where there may be more difficulty in terms of just general weakness at this time. This is Something too as well. Remember, Neptune is also about escapism, so it might be having to take some responsibility for matters connected with escapism, whether it was just simply avoiding something like a confrontation with somebody, or say if this is in your eighth house, it might be over insurance matter or something pertaining to your taxes that you've been avoiding for some time. And Saturn often, I would say, can make us, wind up having to deal and take responsibility for certain issues. And Neptune can also be associated with imprisonment and incarceration. So, and Saturn is about authority. So, if for isolated cases, uh, if somebody is having this transit and they had an outstanding warrant, there was something that they weren't supposed to take care of in court, and they had an appearance and they avoided it. This can increase that propensity for authority to catch up with those people, and as a result, be incarcerated. Uh, Now, another way this can manifest and pan out, this could be about father or an older person, such as a grandparent, may be more prominent in you attaining your dreams, your ideals, things that you fantasized about. It could also be matters with self-sacrificing energy. Um, Say, for example, if you were somebody, let's say if this is an Aquarius in the eighth house in your natal chart, as an example. This may manifest in doing something with computers at Aquarius, and forensics, which is the eighth house, because the eighth house can be connected with criminal investigation, and done with laborious energy, trying to attain that, if that is some kind of dream you might be aspiring for. And as I stated, it could be an older person or father or grandparent might play more of an integral role in you trying to attain those efforts. Now, in those dreams, I should say. Now, another thing, let's say if this falls on Capricorn in your third house as another example, this may manifest in a lot of hard work and laborious efforts, which is Saturn, perhaps rescuing, which is Neptune, somebody maybe from a vehicle. You're trying to extricate or rescue somebody from a vehicle. Third house could be connected with local transportation, driving. That's very isolated, but I'm just using that as an example. And another thing too, this could also be about taking responsibility, in some cases, for some kind of deception or duplicity. Um, it might be if you were involved in some kind of, say if it's in the third, going back to the third house, if there was some kind of situation where you were being deceptive or duplicitous toward a sibling, a cousin, or neighbor, or maybe vice versa, if you were dealing with one. Uh, it might be about being responsible for that situation one way or another. It might be, if that person was being deceptive to you, if they were doing it very consistently, especially, it could be something where you might attempt to dissolve the connection, as an example. This could also be a time where you might feel more alone and desolate than usual. Saturn could be very introverted energy. Neptune, of course, is about isolation, solitude, and seclusion. Saturn is also associated with fear, so it might be a time for you now where you might be more, where fears might be more imagined at this time or distorted. Neptune can be connected with illusion, what's unreal, what might be distorted. Let's say if this falls in Scorpio as an example, it could be maybe you're thinking a person might be stalking you or trying to manipulate you, and it's really not or manipulating you, and it might be something that you might be imagining. And also, again, Saturn could be connected with chronic debilitations. So these issues, if you have any chronic debilitations, might be causing more weakness, more so than usual. It could be, this could be something, let's say, also too, it could be Neptune related. issues. It could be something with the feet, the toes, the lymphatic system, the immune system, as an example. Now, I mean, let's say you have this in Virgo. It could be some issues with the spleen or the pancreas, as an example, or intestinal issue. Now, I don't know if these things can actually cause weakness, but if they can, I mean, this is a time where you might be feeling that because, again, Neptune can be associated with weaknesses and just feeling more weak and lethargic. Uh, if it's in Capricorn, it could be some issues like, say, some kind of bone deterioration at this time, because remember that, I mean, Saturn and Capricorn energy can be connected with the bones, and Neptune is about dissolving, dissipation, and weakness. So it might even be further, the dissolving, that energy, the bones at this time, if you do have that problem, and that as an example. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.